to be saving for after Shield Hero. I know we did a video like this before earlier in the year, which was who to save for in 2021. If you haven't seen that video, card popping up on your screen right now, you can go watch that. After you watch this video, or pause this video and go watch that video right now. It's up to you, whatever you want to do if you want to know that stuff. But I thought that I would give a little bit of a refresher, make a newer video, because there's some that came out in JP recently that, hey man, we may need to rethink our strategy, at least for summoning, because there's a lot that's going to be happening with global GS over the next few months. With Shield Hero coming and going, we're going to be getting Shaman King. At some point, there's going to be Phantom Snipers. And also, at some point later on down the line, we're finally going to get RTA on Grand Summoners Global. So we kind of need to factor in all this stuff, especially whenever we're thinking about pulling and what units to summon for and go for, and who to save for in the future. Since your boy OP is actually, believe it or not, a hoarder in most other games when it comes to my currency, GS has been a game that I've slacked heavily on that, because I kind of summon on every banner to see if I can get somebody. But recently I actually stopped because I wanted to save for these big units, and hopefully I'm able to get them within my summons. But real quick before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this video, if you find this video informative, helpful, whatever the case may be, funny, educational, you just like my content, I would appreciate it heavily if you actually click the like button and subscribe. Only takes 2 seconds, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to look for my videos again. They'll constantly pop up in your sub box if you subscribe, and you can always unsubscribe whenever you like. So I think it's a win-win in my opinion. And for everybody who's already subscribed and liked the video already, shout out to you guys. You the real MVP. So with Shield Hero returning on Global, of course, this list is going to be a little bit in the future. You don't have to be worrying about stuff yet, but we do need to talk about some of the units that are coming out and some units that I highly recommend that you save for, from crossovers and of course from a saga that is coming very soon, I feel like. By the way, I'm not going to be making this like a top 10 list or something, so the number 1 unit that I recommend, not going to be the unit that I think you should get by far, but the way how I'll break it down, I'll at least tell you what I think you should prioritize over some other units on this list. But first and foremost, let's think about the 2 major things that are coming to Grand Summoners Global in the next few months. One, you got Shaman King, and then the other one is, of course, Phantom Snipers. Both of these crossovers, or saga, let me say, is going to be huge for the game. For one, there's so many units from Phantom Snipers that are just so freaking good. You have so many notable names like Haruto, Simon, Dark Haruto, Miranda. There's just so much goodness happening with Phantom Snipers. And with Shaman King, we have a few units like Yo, and of course the boy Hal, which is just, I still can't believe they made this guy a unit and made him as broken as they did. But if you were to ask me who would I recommend that you guys go for out of all of them, well, let's answer that. The Saga Phantom Snipers is a GS saga that, of course, is made by the Grand Summoners development team. It's not a crossover or anything else. And these guys, I feel like, are going to be coming out the soonest out of anybody that is on this list. And especially Haruto, because he is the first of the Phantom Snipers. With the 3.5-year anniversary happening on Global, I feel like the approach of Phantom Snipers is just getting closer and closer and closer. And Haruto, I think, is one of the best units to save for. But I think you have the least amount of time to actually save up for Haruto compared to every other unit on this list. Haruto is pretty much the Mako of this game, or the GS version of Mako. If you don't have Mako, which is one of the best support units in this entire game, she's from the Kill la Kill collab, if you weren't able to get her, you kind of need Haruto. The man does so much in terms of his arch-gen capabilities. He has crazy damage buffs in his kit as well, really strong heal true art, plus with the arch-gen and everything. And not only that, he also has a pretty strong passive, which is able to increase the stats of every one of his allies by 10% up to a maximum of 30%. And overall, man, it's just, he's a little bit too good, I'm gonna be honest. He's so disgusting as a support unit, especially as a earth human. He has a lot of stuff going for him, and there's really no reason for you not to summon for Haruto unless you maybe already have Mako and a Serpa and like all the other super OP support units. But if you don't, dude, Haruto, I think this guy's a must get. Like I said, he's probably the soonest to come out, so you won't be having the most time to save, but who knows? Phantom Snipers could be 2 weeks away. It could be a month away, 2 months away. So if you want to start saving for this, man, going ahead. Next unit that I'm going to recommend from Phantom Snipers is going to be Miranda. After looking over her kit a few times, this girl is pretty freaking strong. She's kind of like the magic version of Thetis, but with a little bit more of a twist. Miranda is a taunt tank that is able to increase allies' magic damage, and this baby is stackable, by the way, to everybody on the team, plus give them a barrier, and she just has so much stuff going for her that I think it's going to be really hard to pass her up, especially if you use a lot of magic damage dealers. Juno. And there's not really much else to say. I mean, she's a taunt tank that's able to stack magic damage. We've never seen that before, especially on a tank. And she's very, very good against any magic fight. Just because by default, she has 50% magic resistance. That is 50% magic damage resist, which is just so disgusting for you to have that on a passive, especially for a taunt tank. She's going to be insanely good against any fight that does mostly magic damage. I think the only problem I have with her is that she only has one 5-star defense slot, but that really shouldn't be too big of an issue if you're going against a fight that is, of course, a magic damage oriented fight, because that 50% magic resist passive is going to kick in. You're going to see the value of it. You're going to see how much that damage mitigation is just by default. But in other forms of content, if you're using her as just the main tank all the time, she's going to need some type of support, either with another unit using a defense item like something like a Sestina, or you're going to be needing something like a Sandstone to really protect her. But having a taunt tank that's a little bit more offensive or able to provide a little bit more offensive support, I think is great. And looking over her, she's almost more exciting to me than actually Haruto himself. Not Dark Haruto though. We'll talk about him in just a second. And there was a unit that I would recommend on this list, which was Simon, which Simon was looking very, very promising, or Yuna or Kami, let me say. The resemblance of these two designs is a little bit scary. But there was a unit that came out that kind of was like, oh man, if I want an attacker that's dark, I think I'm going to be going for this guy instead. And that's going to be Dark Haruto. Dark Haruto is he's like Batiste. He's damage. He's just damage. And he's actually one of the first units to get the brand new mechanic, Phantom Bullet. So Dark Haruto, what he is, he has bleed stacks on his skill, so he does synergize with other units in the game that have bleed, like for example Luan. But the thing about Dark Haruto that I really like is that this guy is a really strong nuking support unit, and just a really strong unit for, I want to say, pretty much any team. The only downside is that his slots are kind of whack, but let's just talk about him. Let's talk about what he does. So his True Art is a huge modifier of 50,000%, and he increases all allies critical damage by 100%. So if you're using him on a team that is going to be nuking, let's say Mono Dark, for example, you pop this, that's going to be such a substantial buff to everyone on the team that your crits are going to be insane, dude. Not only that, he also has a Phantom Bullet that you can activate if you have, I think, 200 arts, or hell, you may not even need arts gen to activate the Phantom Bullet. I'm not for sure. But if you pop this thing, you instantly get reduce the enemy's dark resist by 50% for 60 seconds, and you can activate the Phantom Bullet 3 times per quest. So that's some pretty big burst phases in certain fights. If you're using Haruto as maybe like your only damage dealer, you could pop the Phantom Bullet, like if a boss is broken or you're fighting harder content, pop it during a damage phase, and then instantly loop back into his True Art, and boom, he's gonna do some insane damage. Or pop his True Art first, and if you can just use the Phantom Bullet right after it, pop the Phantom Bullet with it, and then the critical damage and everything is going to be insane. That's a 70,000 multiplier, and he has some insane additional attack because of his slots. They're going to give him around, what, like 1,120, 140 attack in total just from his equipment alone, and he has a 3k attack stat by default. Like, that's not even factoring in crest and everything else. Like, goodness, man, he's just damage. Oh yeah, and by the way, did I mention that he actually gets 100% crit chance built into him? You just have to get 3 stacks of bleed on a target, so he don't even need a crit buffer, just an arch genner and a tank. Oh, dude, this guy's gonna be so nasty. Another thing that makes, I think, Dark Haruto so appealing to me is that this guy's not even a physical attacker. He's a magic damage dealer, which is insane because he synergizes really well with the last unit we talked about, Miranda, for harder content, where you can stack up magic damage and then let Haruto stack his bleed, and then once his bleed is completely maxed, guess what? He can start going crazy. You pop the Phantom Bullet, you pop his True Art, whatever he's hitting is gonna get hit hard. So yeah, Dark Haruto, if you want a pure damage dealer, you want a pure DPS unit, I think it's going to be your guy that's going to be coming out in the next few months. But there's also a few others that we haven't said yet. I'm not going to spoil the rest of the Phantom Snipers though. I'm going to be making a whole nother video talking about each of them individually, just because I'm not even for sure if I know every single one of them. And I thought, why not? It'd be a fun video to do at some point. Out of the Phantom Snipers, that is the ones that I'm recommending, at least in the beginning. But if I missed one, it doesn't mean that I think they're bad. It's just I probably don't even know about their existence. But there is 2 units coming out, and these are the furthest away more than likely, because they're going to be the next crossover on Global, and those are the Shaman King units. There are 2 units in Shaman King that are pretty OP. The first one is Yo. This man, at first glance, you may look at him and be like, oh, he's whatever. But he synergizes pretty well with a certain unit that I'm going to be mentioning in a second. But Yo is 100% attack buffer. He's a fire archgener. He's one of the first of his kind. We don't have too many fire archgeners in the game for mono fire. The only one that I can think of is literally Berwick. And Berwick's more of like a damage dealer, archgener, hybrid type. So I don't really count him completely as a support unit. But Yo is bringing that fire support to the team, plus the damage ups, plus the attack ups. There's just so much that this guy is doing for his team that the only problem that I could really see is that either he has type B archgen, or if his archgen grouping isn't trash, then I would have liked a little bit better slots for a support unit. You can see here his slots I don't think are really too amazing. I would have preferred a 5-star support, but it is what it is. At least he does have one support item. But with him having the 100% attack up, him having the damage up, all that type of stuff, he's going to be really strong with a lot of different units for fire teams and just, synergizing with a mostly fire comp anyway. I think the only problem with Yo is that if you don't really care too much about fire units, you're not going to be using them really at all. But if you do like fire units, you do like mono fire, you like using mostly fire units, then I definitely feel like he's going to be your guy. Of course, if you don't want to use him for fire units, you could just use him as a 100% attack buff because he applies that to all of his allies, even if they're fire or not. So he could be a good asset for you in terms of like nuking a boss or just trying to buff up your team with a little bit more damage. But there's a unit that comes out after Yo that I think makes Yo's viability and just value overall rise exponentially. And that is going to be How. This unit is so disgusting in the damage department, it's not even funny. This dude has damage buffs on top of damage buffs, on top of self-sustain, on top of insanely strong debuffs to apply for damage at least. There's just so much this guy has going for him, and his slots are so good. It's just insane to even think about that this is actually a unit. I made a whole video talking about this guy because he's so broken. And the thing that's crazy about this guy is you could use him on a mono fire team if you wanted to, but if you just want to use him as a damage dealer just alone, you can do that. He has so much just built into his kit, and his multipliers are so high, it's just like goodness. It's hard to justify using any other damage dealer, or at least a pure damage dealer, whenever you have stuff like How in the game. He does so many things just for himself that he don't rely on a lot of different support units. You could literally slap anybody with him, slap your Mako on him, slap your Yos on him, maybe give him a Berwick or give him some type of tank or something like that to make sure he doesn't die, and then you just let him go. Just let him do his thing and he's just gonna deal damage. Of course, I will say this could drastically change once we actually get him in global. He may be not as broken as he seems on paper, but I just doubt it, man. So much stuff going for this guy that, no lie, he looks like he belongs in one of the original Blood Knight sagas because every new unit from the Blood Knight saga was breaking the meta in some way. Example, Berwick, and then you have Riviera, which I guess she kind of broke the meta for a little bit. Then you had Thetis, which was the best taunt tank we've ever had. And then you have Vox. If Yo would have came out with them, to be honest, I would have been like, well, they just don't care about balance. And they still don't care about balance because they released them. So this is one of the guys that is super high priority on my list, maybe even more than Dark Haruto because I really want Dark Haruto. But between Yo and How, I definitely want these guys, man. And also they look dope. You see how they look? Drip. That is who I think that you guys should be saving for in the future of GS. Of course, stuff could change. We could get brand new crossovers, could get rerun crossovers, so who knows what will happen. But I thought I would make a video since it's been a while since we actually talked about who to save for, especially with the 3.5 year anniversary. You may want to be careful with how you spend your crystal, making sure you don't go completely broke, and save some of them since we're going to have such a insane next few months on global with all of these crazy release units. So if you enjoyed this video, you liked it, whatever you want to say about it, don't forget to like the video. I appreciate it a lot. It helps me out a ton. And also subscribe if you want to stick around. Yeah, if your list is different for who you're saving for, please let me know down below in the comment section. I love reading them. There's a lot of good units coming out, and to be honest, even though I just mentioned these, there's so many good units from Phantom Snipers and other units that we've yet to get on global that it's going to be kind of hard making a mistake on who to go for, because with the units releasing nowadays, everybody seems to be bringing something new to the table or some type of really strong asset to your team and your arsenal. So I think we have a lot of options to summon for, and there's probably going to be a lot of craziness happening in the next few months. But yeah, guys, thank you all for coming out again. It's been your boy OP. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and last but not least, don't forget to drink water.